the point of human is not enough. You have trained human or non-trained humans. Okay?
Yes.
It's not because it's a human that can do surgery. It should be a doctor, okay?
Correct.
That is prepared to do it. And that is exactly what me and a lot of ethicists are thinking at the moment. In our sector, we had an explosion of ethicists that sometimes are not trained or competent enough to be ethicists.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Engatica's interview series. I'm your host Nimilika and we're really glad to have you join us today. Today we have Enrico Panai, AI ethicist and human information interaction specialist on the show. Welcome, Enrico.
Hi, thank you to invite me.
We are so privileged to have you here on the show, Enrico. The Engatica interview series is a powerhouse of insights from industry experts and influencers from around the world. A platform that provides the latest news on AI, information, and technology that will help you grow your business. Come, be a part of our community, learn, share, and grow with us. Enrico, so how do we eliminate bias from AI algorithms? Can you first throw light on that?
Yes. So we cannot. In reality, it is impossible to use even the word eliminate. The only thing we can do with biases is trying to mitigate them and to reduce any possible consequences. But what is interesting about the relation we have with biases is why biases are so important for us and why we'd like to eliminate. So if you just take a step backward and try to see biases as a mirror of human beings, then I think we are afraid to watch ourselves in a mirror. So to see that we are bad in producing data and making wrong decisions. So when we produce errors, they are being stocked in a data set, and those data sets are biased because we are biased, not because of the data set itself. Now, this is an important point and can be a very philosophical point, but what is interesting is taking the good part of biases. Can we use biases not just to mitigate biases in the data set, but to improve the whole society as a whole? So if we see that there is a discrimination between genders, for example, can biases help to make explicit those differences, and in this way we can improve the whole society? That's another approach.
Yes, that was a great analogy, the mirror analogy that you just gave right now. So you're saying that no matter how much we train and how much data we extract from any part of the world, there will be bias.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it possible to teach these machines ethics or empathy or compassion?
I'm sorry to say again, no, for the second questions. No, we cannot teach them those kind of stuff. And there is a reason because of that. Because all the system we are producing are syntactic systems. So they do something very well, but they do not understand why they are doing something. What they do very well is imitation. They can imitate very well human behaviors, so that you or me, we can think that a system is behaving like a human, so is having an ethical approach, is having compassion or any kind of empathy. But in reality, for the system, it doesn't matter at all. He's just imitating something similar to us. Now, in taking this point, it can be interesting to do another kind of analysis. And this is about a particular dimension that we can call semantic plausibility. That means how can a system being similar to a human, this similarity, so this semantic plausibility of a system can be good in some context and very bad in other contexts. Take the example of autonomous car. When you are driving a car, there is another car that is driven by a system, and so the behavior of that car should be very similar to human, so that our reaction will be understandable for the car. So in this case, semantic plausibility is very good. But take another one, take a chatbot or any kind of system based on natural processing languages. So you are going to interact with those systems. And the point is that when you are interacting, you are thinking that the system is human. And then you can cause very great damages on people, because take a teenager or a child, they think that is talking to a real person. In reality, is talking to a system. So until the system is very good at imitating humans, everything is okay. But the moment is wrong, it will be the gap, it will be enormous, because it's not human. So it can just say something completely awful after you create a good relation of trust between the agent and the receiver of an action. So I think that no, we cannot teach them, but we can create imitation systems that imitate behavior like empathy. Ethics, it's a bit different because it's based on the context, and empathy is the capacity to understand what another people is feeling. It's quite difficult to answer. Yes, you can use a sensor to classify emotions, and we have researchers about that. You can use those to make nudges, for example, but still, that's not empathy. That is a quantitative approach to imitate another kind of behavior.
Correct. And this is also very highly dependent on data, again, and training. Yes. And there will be bias here too.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That's
so
the point.
how can we ensure that the data sets are fair and balanced? Now we have come back to the same bias issue. How can we ensure that at least the training is good?
Yes. So two different points. Data. Make data are not fair or not fair. They can be balanced. They can have fair or unfair consequences in how they are used, but they should be balanced. The act of balancing data is an ethical act. You are choosing how to balance data. So let's take a very simple example. I decided to take a national data set, and in that national data set, I have a sample, so I have not all the population. And in that sample, I can use some indicator to know that I'm doing something balanced. Women, okay. People from a religion or another religion, okay. Different type of sexual orientation, okay. I can take all these information and trying to balance the system. But even women and men, that generally there are a bit more of women than men, but the difference statistically is not important. But if, for example, you are taking a sample of the population of more aged people, so elder people, then the difference is higher. You have more women after 75, for example, than men, much more women than men. So choosing to have 50% of women and men of elderly people, it means doing something unfair. But the moment you are doing that, you are taking an ethical decision. The point is that every developer take ethical decisions all the time, every 2 minutes, even if they do not know that. And I'm telling that because I'm a particular ethicist. I studied philosophy, but I developed all my life. So I know what developing coding is. And
Yes.
you are taking ethical decision all the time. The point is making them explicit or implicit, or let them implicit. So if an ethicist, a developer, try to create a kind of chain of custody of all the ethical decision that is taken during the process of balancing data sets, then or training data, then you can improve the system and reduce the risk. Just because you see the problem, you can solve the problem. Okay, this is
Yes.
one of the approach we can use. So in your question about ensuring that is more than a mathematical approach. It's a process approach, and the capacity, the awareness of the possibility of having an ethical issue. You will not have ethical dilemma; they are too difficult to solve. But generally, you have a lot of very small ethical issues, and you have to be just capable to focus on them, track them, and if you are not capable to find a solution, make a call for an ethicist or a committee and ask for help. That's the
Correct.
point to do it.
Correct. So now that you've spoken about how ethical decisions have to be made while training a model or in the data sets that are used in the model, how
Mhm.
can we ensure ethics are followed after the model is released and people are using it? So it is not just the pre part, the post part of the model also has to be ethical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's not the model that is ethical. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's ethical, it's not good. Ethical is good, neutral or bad. That's a
Mm.
misunderstanding of the word ethical. Generally, we use that to say you should be ethical, but it doesn't mean
Mm.
anything because it's contextual. Okay,
Yes,
if you
yes.
are killing somebody to protect somebody else, you are still being
Mm.
ethical. Okay,
Correct.
so
Mm.
so the point is not to have a model ethical, but to reduce. So because we have three polarity:
Mm.
neutrality, evil, and good. In the
Mm.
majority of cases, everything we are doing, every model we are using are neutral, okay? And that's the
Correct.
good way of living, having a neutral model that doesn't mind anybody. Sometimes
Definitely.
they are moving in the bad part, they becoming evil, sometimes they will be becoming good. What we have to
Mm.
do is reinforce the goodness, okay, and punish or at least mitigate any possible bad behavior, even when
Mm.
it's in production. In this point, it's very important to understand that there is a difference with all the technological system, a new digital technological system, and mainly with AI. That AI has got an agency that other systems didn't have. So what we have to do is monitoring all the time how the system is behaving, because the system can have a concept shift, for example, can change completely the way to do something, but the environment can change. Okay,
Correct.
and in the environment, you do not have a population. You can have a subgroup of population that is
Mm.
using in an unpredictable way the system you have put into production. So
Yes.
monitoring is the key word to mitigate all the ethical risks that we can
Yes.
find in the future.
Yes. That is so wonderfully explained. So wonderfully explained. So now that you've done so much research and now you're a professor of AI and ethics in AI, what is the problem you plan to solve with AI?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. And again, because I'm a philosopher, I'm going to do 2 steps backward just to jump higher later.
Okay.
The point is that we are living in one of the greatest revolution on the history. Okay, if you everybody learned at school the difference between prehistory and history. Okay, and now we are living another phase. We are moving to hyper history. For the first time in the humanity, we have produced more data in a few nowadays that we are speaking. We produce more data in a few days than all the data produced in the humanity until 2005. Okay, so you see the amount of data we have to cope with them, and we can have wonderful systems that are working with those data. So AI system can solve very well very complex problem, but they cannot solve complicated problem. That means that they can have for example, they cannot you cannot use them to tie the lace of your shoes, but you
Yes.
can play chess. Okay, you know the difference.
Yes.
It's complexity
Yes.
entry against something complicated. So we have a great amount of data. We are living in an ocean of data, and we have to cope with those data.
Correct.
Human cannot do it. We cannot cope with all those data because they are too. When I'm talking to my student, I make a metaphor. So I say, if you think of data as a drop of water, you can imagine that all the humanity produced all the literature, painting, music, etc. Until 2006, more or less, they produced a swimming pool. Okay, so
Yes.
you have a swimming pool and you are swimming in a swimming pool. You see everything. Everything is simple to use. From 2006, 2008 until now, we have living in the Mediterranean Sea, in the middle of a big sea. So you are afraid that they are too much. You cannot cope with them. You need a new instrument to cope with all those data. And the only way to cope with all those data are artificial intelligence systems. From my point of view, so for me are fundamental. We have to use them in a very good way. But from my point of view, what I wish in the future is to be able to develop AI system that would flag ethical problem, not solve ethical problem, just flag them. Just say, you see, in this area, we have a problem. You see, we have a social network. We have a group of female teenagers that are doing diet, and it's very dangerous what they are doing. Somebody should look at it. I would like to have AI that would flag this kind of problems.
Yes. So now this also like adds up to your answer on how ethics and data or the whole model can be biased. So it should flag, but it should not try to solve because while solving, it might have bias.
Yeah.
So humans have to intervene.
Yeah, if it's possible.
Yeah. And I love
yes.
how your whole answer adds up. So we've moved from a swimming pool to an ocean where we don't have control. And that's where AI helps us point to where the problem is. And the humans are capable enough to go and solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that is
would be
so
great.
beautiful. That is very beautiful, Enrico. And before we end our conversation, do you have any sound bites to share with our audience?
Yes, let's take the last sentence you said. You said humans should intervene. And because I have a critical philosophical approach, I would say, who are going to intervene? And this is a critical point. that I'm going to
Mm.
put in our discussion.
Okay.
Generally, we talk about the human in the loop, human over the loop, in all this AI system. The point of human is not enough. You have
Mm.
trained human or non-trained humans, okay?
Yes.
It's not because it's a human that can do surgery. It should be a doctor,
Mm.
okay? That
Correct.
is
Yes.
prepared to do it. And that is exactly what me and a lot of ethicists are thinking at the moment. In
Mm.
our sector, we had an explosion of ethicists that sometimes are not trained or competent enough to be ethicists. And that's a
Mm.
risk, okay? That's a real risk because in all our discussion, I never said what is good or bad because I don't
Correct.
know. I'm not God. I'm a simple human that use tools to make what in ethics we call the axiological analysis. So we have a problem, we try to find what values this problem is attacking, or what kind of values we should use to treat this problem. But there is not an absolute solution for everything. And this is an ethical approach. Ethicists
Yes.
should be more trained and should be professional ethicists. And their work is not, a lot of people are raising their hands saying, I disagree with this kind of technology. That's not a
Mm.
work of an ethicist. This is a
Mm.
political work. It's your opinion, it's very good. We need those kind of people
Mm.
that are raising their hand. But as ethicists, we are quite, we do a work in a low profile way. We are like psychologists. We talk to people, we listen to people, we have access to very high confidential problem, and
Mm.
we have a very high level of confidentiality because the company that is calling us, me or any other colleague, to work in ethics should trust us to help them to solve a problem, not to be criticized only. We are not moralizer. We are ethicists. We
Mm.
use tools, process, instrument to help a company to improve, even if the company is not a very good company. But again, if you are an ethicist, like if you are a psychologist, you work with people that has got problem. So you have to work with everyone without crying that they are doing stuff in a wrong way. So in my
Yes.
last word, we need to improve the level of competences of ethicists because at the moment, the role is not very clear.
Yeah. Your answer was so beautiful. I was spellbound. Like when you said ethicists are like psychologists and you have so much information, confidential information with you, and you have to talk to people and use that information to, solve a problem. I was spellbound. I was
Mm.
holding my breath because I have never heard anybody say that, and that makes so much sense. And you play such an important role in today's AI. Thank you so much, Enrico. That was so beautiful.
Thank you very much for having invited me, and see you soon then. Thank you
See
again.
you. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights, Enrico. For more content, subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to access exclusive content from thought leaders from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you with a new expert soon.